Thanks, Ken. Yes, we went clay shooting yesterday, and my husband asked me, well, how many shots did you take? And I said, does it really matter? Because I got one. So let's just say 1 out of 1, and that makes me have a good shot, right? So happy to be here, you guys. As Ken said, Epsilon's been a proud sponsor of this event, and we're glad to be back today to share with you really how we see the power of data in email marketing, and the story around some of the clients that we partner with and the success that they're seeing in leveraging data inside their email program to drive personalization and really a lifelong relationship with their consumers. Let's see. So when we talk about data and personalization, to Epsilon, this really means creating real human interactions and real moments with the consumers that will enable us to drive engagement and help them really to personalize in the moments that matter most for their customers. Epsilon does this best by bringing together both the online and the offline world and the data assets that we have so we can understand the consumer's behavior and really be able to message them with content that's relevant, with content that's really emotional and connects with them on an individual level. And we are really the leader in this space by bringing together, again, both the consumers' data, whether they're spending in store or online, bringing those transactions together to help deliver a more relevant campaign and message. And the core of this is really marketing that's powered by humans, but driven by data. And there's 3 key tenets to this that we believe in at Epsilon. And the first one starts with interaction management. And to us, this is really being able to ensure that the brand is having a real consumer interaction and a real customer interaction in every channel at an emotional level. Epsilon has an email and a loyalty business, and we're ranked #1 in both of those businesses and with a strong ROI. And we're able to really capitalize on those interactions in an omni-channel way to understand the consumer's behavior over time and what's the right channel and where's the right moment to interact with them and with what content. Second is our commitment to data, and I think this is where Epsilon really is different in terms of the conversation that we're able to have. The access to data is so important. Yesterday during the roundtables, we talked a lot about the challenges that the brands in the room are facing in terms of personalization, but it really starts with data and having the ability to have the right data and actually enough data to truly understand the consumer. Epsilon has, inside our data set, over 200 million profiles and 7,000 data attributes that we're able to really activate inside the email channel. And so this enables us to understand more about the consumer and take that information and turn it into a meaningful conversation. And when you think about creative, that can mean what image do you show, what message do you show, but it's also about when to send the message, who to send it to. And we're really the leader inside this space in terms of the access and the amount of data that's available to do that. And second is big brand intelligence. While we work with many of the top global and Fortune 500 companies, we also are meeting brands at where they're at in their journey. And we had some really good conversations the past couple days about some of the challenges that the brands are facing. And I know in my role at Epsilon that the clients that we meet with and partner with oftentimes are struggling with this journey and where to get started, because everybody is at a different spot inside their programs, and oftentimes it's intimidating. It's not easy to get started. Your data's in different spots. And so what Epsilon really does best is bring together strategic resources to really help identify what that path looks like for each brand individually and how to get started in that process. There's many challenges along the way. We've touched on this yesterday, again, during roundtables and the conversations that we've been having while we're at this event. I would say the biggest challenge that we heard and that we continue to hear from our clients is around aligning and activating data. It's often siloed inside an organization, or it's messy. It's hard to be able to bring that together to really understand the consumer and, again, activate that inside the channel. There's other challenges, access to the data in a real-time way, the ability to generate enough content so that you can have a personal conversation. And we'll touch on this in a story that we tell you for one of our clients later today. We'll get to around big retail on how we were able to bring this together for them. But it's been an evolution. In terms of personalization, when we think about the email channel, we have been on a bit of an evolution in time. So really, if you think back to email and being able to begin personalization, I think somebody mentioned it yesterday. We started with first name, and we were excited about that as an industry, but it took a lot of time for brands to trust the data and to truly understand that leveraging first name in an email would be accurate, and that also that we would be able to use that in a way that was meaningful and not just because you could insert the first name. And then we moved into an era of increasing personalization, so using business rules and logic to begin to make product recommendations or to put people in segments. So somebody like you also purchased, or you may like based on your previous purchase, which is great and still effective in email marketing today. And I know many of our brands and many of the folks in the room are leveraging this inside their program to drive revenue. But where we're headed is really an era of increasing personalization, leveraging AI to drive the conversation even further, to help re-engage the consumer, and to get more of this one-to-you. We've been saying as an industry that we're really trying to get one-to-one. At Epsilon, we believe that the conversation is really about a one-to-you. You, as the customer, are really the person that we and the brand are trying to reach. This conversation is changing, and being able to have a one-to-one dialogue is the focus and really, I think, the nirvana of where we all are heading and wanting to be. And that begins with creating these real human moments, the ability to have a real conversation and connect with the customer in a meaningful way. And that begins with being able to, again, access and cultivate data that can drive those insights. And it starts by understanding who she is and what she buys and what she cares about. The data assets that Epsilon has really encompass the demographic and lifestyle data, health and wellness. If you think about financial data, where they're spending non-cash transactions in your vertical or outside. What's their purchase behavior like, again, across the different retailers and different sites that they may be visiting. And then what's their intent? So understanding the intent behind a purchase or behind a search will allow us to have more information about what that consumer might do next and what they're looking for inside their journey. And this is a combination of many different data assets. So often this is data that the brand's going to have, first-party data. You're going to know your clients best in terms of the transactions, the product file, engagement data, behavioral data. But when you match that data up with third-party data, the psychographic data, being able to understand the consumer across all of their different devices and match that in a constant and perpetual fashion. What sites do they like? Where are they spending their time? And if they are on your site or abandoning, what does that look like? What are their shopping preferences? When they're searching, do we understand in what category, in what size, for example, if it's a retailer, and the demographic data. So bringing this together and looking at those 200 million profiles and 7,000 different data attributes gives us a richer profile of the consumer and the information and data that we're going to need as marketers to really be able to message them in a very meaningful way that will drive engagement and those lifelong relationships. And again, we said earlier, and we've heard a lot from a lot of you in the room, it's not always easy, so how do you get started? So I wanted to share the story of our partnership with Coach. So Coach is one of our large retail clients, and obviously we're all familiar with Coach, and probably many of us have purchased from them and have some of their handbags. They're an icon of modern luxury. They're a brand that we follow, that I follow personally and purchase from. But their challenge was really connecting with the consumer in a personal way in the email channel. The messages that they were sending were very static, very image-based in terms of the way that they were approaching the delivery of the campaign, and they didn't have a lot of personalized content inside their program. So they approached Epsilon, and during our relationship asked us if we could leverage the data assets that I was just talking about and Epsilon's Agility, Harmony, and Agility IQ decision engine to begin to action on that data and drive a personal connection within their email program and with their customers. And it's important to keep in mind the KPIs that they were looking at in terms of measurement. They wanted to understand if this would drive opens, clicks, and an increase in average order value. And I think yesterday when we were talking a little bit about personalization, we were mentioning holistic measurement. And I'm going to come back to this point because I think it's really important to understand where they started and ultimately what we were able to achieve for them. So what we did during the course of this test program was ultimately match all of their customers within the profile data that we had and the 7,000 different data attributes that we had access to identify different and unique things about these consumers so that we could create very specific and individual inbox copy for these consumers. In doing that, we leveraged the Agility Harmony platform and the machine engine, Agility IQ, to ultimately make a decision on who was going to receive what content in what combination. We started just with the inbox copy, which I think for many of you guys and for us too, it wasn't where we wanted to start. We really wanted to be able to get deeper with the brand in terms of getting into content and more personalization. But coaches, especially their creative team, the folks that we partnered with, especially in my organization, were really nervous about a test like this. Like, would a test like this sort of water down their brand voice? Would they be able to be successful but still be on brand and give up some of the control that the team had in being able to craft their own subject lines within their business in a very ad hoc fashion? So it took some time, and we started here to prove this out and be able to demonstrate and build trust inside the data and with the decision engine that this would drive real results. And in fact, it did. They've been able to see through this program and this test almost a 4% lift in average order value and also around a 4% lift in driving those consumers that are receiving the email back into their store. Because a lot of these customers are also purchasing in store. It's sort of the emails having a bit of a billboard effect. It's creating a conversation with them. It's starting to recognize them at an individual level. And then because oftentimes these large purchase items are more the luxury tickets, they're not always an online transaction. The customer wants to go in and see the product and interact with the product and make an in-store purchase. But it didn't just stop there, and the conversation isn't just around inbox and inbox copy. We're talking to Coach about the ability to personalize based on the consumer's spending habits. So what's next really is if you think about their consumers, their obviously spending habits are different, and what they spend in a luxury category is different, even though overall these are consumers that are purchasing from a luxury retailer. We have the ability to begin to think about content. So if we know that this consumer is spending a large amount of their discretionary income in the luxury category, it may make sense for that person to receive a backpack that's upwards of $500, $600, whereas your seasonal shopper, your trendsetter, somebody that's in your file that's demonstrating behavior and tends to be that customer that's making purchases seasonally, the sneakers, for example, in this creative experience might make more sense for that consumer. And even inside a brand like Coach, they have cost-conscious, or value shoppers that are looking for something that is on sale or maybe at a lower price point. And so the ability to continue to think about how do we take the same exact process that we were making decisions on inside the inbox that was driving additional revenue for the brand and bring that back to the content. Pull that into everything that we're doing from the products that we're delivering and the messages that we're sending. And that's really where this goes into a deeper conversation. I think oftentimes we begin to talk about personalization as products and offers, and it doesn't just have to be an offer. If we were giving every customer an offer or a reason to open or a discount code, begins to water down the ability to think about how personalization can resonate on an emotional level. So the next phase of this journey is really around bringing in additional considerations and what to show, what lifestyle image, how is that image tagged, what emotional triggers is it going to have. You can even think about color and sentiment and the ability for the machine to understand what the consumer is going to respond to in that area. Of course, we're going to take into considerations like abandoned browse and abandoned cart, and all of this data, the behavioral data, the engagement data, the psychographic data is going to be able to deliver a more one-to-one conversation with that consumer and what you show and how you really describe that product, or what language do you use in the way that you're messaging that copy. when we looked at the big picture and did a holistic measurement exercise around the results that this type of personalization was driving back for brands like Coach, we were starting to uncover really unique categories that they were not paying attention to or messaging differently. Categories that may seem sort of obvious on gender, men, or even home, for example, was driving a significant lift in their key KPIs over their control, so opens and clicks. But as we look even further, the ability for us to start to have a conversation with the consumer was driving an additional almost 10% lift in site visits. So a program like this that started in a really simple way around being able to test out the data and deliver this with intelligence through the decision engine, Agility IQ, is not just driving additional opens and clicks, it's sending these consumers back to the website. It's driving almost a 3% or a little over lift in revenue per recipient, and it's driving them back to the store as well so that they can continue to make purchases and visit the store and have additional human interactions with that client and with that brand. And so as we think about personalization, and we continue to have conversations today and over the next couple days here, we wanted to leave you with a few questions to ask yourself and things to go back and work with your team and ask your team about. The first one is really, do you have a 360-degree view of your customer? Do you understand what motivates them and what they're likely to do next or what their likely next best action might be? Are you activating data across channels? Are you thinking about the program outside of just email and how you may be able to leverage that data and have a conversation with the consumer across channels? As that's really an important component of getting that human interaction and being able to create those lifelong relationships. And then are you considering measurement from a holistic view? Are you able to measure and understand and attribute the revenue back to the email channel, for example, as you may be driving that consumer in store? And are you looking at the bigger picture to truly understand the ability and impact that what you're doing in this channel may have an influence in other areas? So we just wanted to leave you with that today and thank you and let you know that at Epsilon we really believe that tomorrow is possible today, and we're happy to be here and happy to be sponsoring again a great event in this breakfast. And I just wanted to ask my colleagues that are with me today to just stand up. We're here if you guys have questions or want to learn more about what we're doing with Coach and our other clients. We have Grace Kotvis, Dan DiGiovanni, and Paul Mattioli with us. So thank you guys on behalf of Epsilon.